Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 2C TV. We are back at the 2C TV Towers, coming to you guys with another live update from the UK general election. My voice is still completely almost gone after last night, and we just came from Westminster, where we tried our best to get into the Nigel Farage's victory party, but the security at the venue completely locked down the whole thing because of the left-wing trolls. But let's talk about what's been going on now that the result is out. Big night, of course, a successful night for Reform UK. A 6 weeks party campaign managed to get 4 seats and over 4 million votes. But while we have some good news, and the country doesn't love the Labour Party, that's also good, there's some bad news. And that's about a group of pro-Gaza Islamists who have now managed to enter the House of Commons. They are now the new MPs up and down this country. So we've got these 4, and of course there's another one at the end as well. One of them is Zakariya Adam from Leicester South. The other one is Adnan Hussein from Blackburn. Ikbal Hussain is Dewsbury and Batley. This is the same area where of course, Batley, where the secondary school teacher in Batley at the grammar school had to go into hiding because the Islamists were threatening his life, and Ayub Khan in Birmingham. So we have these guys, of course, to deal with, but also Jeremy Corbyn, another pro-Gaza independent candidate. So these guys have been standing on the platform of Gaza, but as independents against the other parties. So it does get worrying, but we have to look into these candidates, and we're going to 2C TV will keep an eye on these MPs now over the next few years in the House of Commons to see what they are going to be up to. Of course, Tommy Robinson posted this about one of them, about of course Ayub, who is one of the candidates in Birmingham, MPs in Birmingham. Here is Ayub standing shoulder to shoulder with a known child groomer in Telford. Now he has been voted in as the MP for Birmingham Peribah. I warned everyone about this man, Tommy says, and his association with Ahmed Yaqub, also pictured standing shoulder to shoulder with the groomer. And this was obviously only just about lost because it was a tight election. We're going to talk about those seats that fortunately didn't go their way, because they could have had more MPs, the pro-Gaza independent Islamists. So let's have a look at the first one. Dili Hussain posted this video of Ikbal Hussain Mohammed, who won the Dewsbury and Batley election. The interesting thing about this guy is being a member of parliament is also means that you have to be a politician. You know, you need to have a good public speaking skills, and you need to be able to communicate, and you need to be able to also be, a good person, ideally, right, and wise. Ikbal, let's quickly go to this video from Ikbal, because I'm not really sure if he's got the caliber, let's just say.
Assalamu alaikum. Dear Dewsbury and Batley, dear campaign team, dear volunteers, dear voters. It is my great honour and privilege to inform you that
I can't even hear him. He can't even speak. Speak up. How is he going to be able to make a speech in the House of Commons or have a debate with someone? This is so embarrassing. This is not a local council. This is the House of Commons in the Palace of Westminster. We need to have a better quality of politicians. This is just embarrassing, of course. Let's go to the other one. This is Zakariya Adam, the newly independent MP for Leicester South. Again, stood on the platform of Gaza. He managed to defeat Jonathan Ashworth, who was going to be in this Keir Starmer's cabinet. Jonathan Ashworth was one of the people who has been promoting multiculturalism. He's been voting for multiculturalism over the last few years, and he's now been voted out by multiculturalism. Let's quickly go to the video we have from Zakariya Adam.
The world, and it's a humble token, a humble gesture. This is for the people of Gaza.
This is for the people of Gaza. Interesting, right? This person has been elected for the constituency of Leicester South, but he's standing up for Gaza. A humble gesture, apparently. Next one. Adnan Hussein made a speech and talked about genocide. The whole thing is ludicrous. Let's quickly go to Adnan.
What we've seen over the last 4 weeks has been unbelievable. I can't believe that that kind of filth is within our communities. And now you have to fight. You have to carry on the fight to work towards a better community, towards a better Blackburn, towards a better people. And we have to unite our communities. And like I said from the beginning, that our brothers and sisters in Baswell have the same issues that our brothers and sisters have in Mill Hill. And we have to stick and stay true to the never forget the reality. We are here on the back of a genocide. And if that's giving us the opportunity to unite our communities, then we must grasp.
The problem is that a lot of these people are from countries where they have dictatorships, and these people are not able to become the establishment, right, to get into power. So they are coming to the West and with liberal, secular, democratic societies where they'll find it easier to get into power. And obviously, as these people have been saying, one of the main platforms that we've already been hearing from these newly elected independent MPs is that they have already started a fight against liberalism in the West, against our liberal values. They've already, which by the way means you soon are going to have a massive clash in the House of Commons between the liberals and the Islamists, between the LGBT community and the pro-Gaza MPs. You're going to have, these people have been talking about filth and women, for example, wearing revealing clothing and not covering their hair in England. They've been talking about how the LGBT movement that should be banned because it's a sin. They've been talking about how movies and TV shows need to be censored because they are degenerates. We live in a liberal society, whether you like it or not. Sometimes we criticize some of the stuff that happens inside the liberal society, but you do not ban things. I will fight to my death for your right to say what you want, to be who you want, and to do what you want, as long as you don't harm anybody else, and children, of course. Otherwise, it is a liberal society. Even if you, for example, find some stuff annoying or degenerate, it's a liberal society. As long as you don't harm anybody else or children, then you are free to do whatever weird thing that you want to do. But these people, they don't like it, and they want to fight against it. And they start with the liberal left. They will come for the rest of us and for free speech as well. We almost got more unlucky because the Gaza Independents also almost won a number of other seats. Birmingham Yardley, the independent candidate, Islamist, only lost by 700 votes. That was close. Ilford North, the candidate, lost by 528 votes. Another Islamist in Birmingham Hodge Hill only lost by 1,000 votes. So we could have actually had many more Islamist MPs inside the House of Commons, but this is just, and they are essentially going to be having more resources and more grassroots, more activists, and it's democracy, right? They're playing in a democracy. We can't do anything about that. This is the big issue. We're not fighting back against it with our own Christian values. That is the biggest problem. So within the next couple of elections that we're going to have, within the next 15 to 20 years probably, the whole of at least big chunk of the House of Commons could turn into MPs who do not share our Christian values and our liberal secular values. What are we going to do then? Because the country is falling already anyway. Within the next 5-10 years, the next 2 elections, what are we going to be doing? When you get enough Islamist MPs, they can democratically and legally change legislations and change the constitution. And that's democracy, apparently, right? But it does go against our values. It does go against our constitution. And that's when the checks and balances in this country goes back to the crown, the palace. It's the job of the crown to protect the constitution. You can't just randomly change the constitution. I mean, Tony Blair did. He somehow sold it to everybody. But you need to have a referendum at least. But even referendums might become redundant because of the demographic change within the next couple of decades. So you could have referendums on whatever you want, but the non-Islamic side will be losing. because eventually they're having more babies and the Christians are not having enough babies, and the seculars or the Jews. What are we going to be doing then in this country? Mike Super Chat says, at least Galloway got his P45. Yeah, well, just one of them. And Galloway could always come back. They could always easily find an upcoming by-election and get back into the House. Verena says, you see, the problem is with the English, you can't trust them not to be weak lowlives. Our government will fall if they don't have a backbone. The English could rise up. That's always been throughout history a case. Margot says it will be interesting to see what Starmer does about the Islamists. So he's going to have to fight against them anyway, and his Labour government will have to fight against them. But it's going to be a problem because then they're going to get more opposition from the far left, inside Parliament and outside Parliament. But it's simply about creating the opposition now, preparing it now for the next few years, for any moment that we're going to have a snap election, or just 5 years from now, the next general election. Tara Jane says that we are doomed. There is definitely a hope for fight back, but you have to be prepared now. And it's not just about you guys waking everybody else up, your neighbors, your relatives, your friends, your colleagues. And if we just people sit here and talk among themselves, and nothing is going to change. And this is not about creating hatred. This is about simply fighting for our values in a positive way, as Tommy's been saying, as Nigel has been saying, and everybody else. This is about making a point, making a case for our values, for our country, so that everybody could live here again under Christian values. If you want to have a liberal secular society, you can only have it if a society itself and the establishment runs on Christian values, tolerance. But we have become too tolerant and too welcoming and too soft. Now it's backfiring because we are now doing massive own goals on a regular basis. What are we going to be doing with our country going forward? And if we complain, we're going to get called bigots, we're going to be called the villains, but that is not the reality, is it? Now, there are some people who get frustrated and angry, of course, but the fight back has to be done in a logical and rational way, but also in a passionate way. People need to actually understand why we love Britannia and why we love the Western values. You can't just be anti something and be against something. That's not enough. You have to also be pro something. You can attack something, a dangerous ideology, but you also have to have something as an alternative to offer, which used to be our traditional values here in the West. Who's fighting for that? Now, there are a number of people, of course, but we need the masses. Now, this is just the beginning. Reform UK now has 4 MPs. That's a good start. Let's see what the Conservatives are going to be doing now that they're in opposition. Paul says, Sadiq Al Hassan is my new MP, North Somerset. Which party? Is he independent? North Somerset. Because that used to be... North Somerset itself, I believe, used to be... wasn't it Liam Fox? That was... Yeah. Labour. Yeah, that's a Labour. That's not an independent one. But yes, Sadiq Al Hassan is a Labour MP, which is a whole different problem, because in this video we have been talking about the more independent MPs who are on pro-Gaza. But let's not forget the Green Party has them as well, the Labour Party has them as well, and this is a big issue. So the main 2 parties that have basically Islamists and being tolerant towards them is the Labour Party and the Green Party. The rest of them are independent, and this is becoming a big issue. At least the Liberal Democrats haven't been completely infiltrated by them, because again, it goes against the liberal values anyway. But one day, you never know. I don't think democracy can resist Islam. People are ignorant and can't understand the threat. They will gradually take over the system. I absolutely agree. But right now, how do you sell this to people? How do you explain this to people? Because if you say this, which is correct, people will freak out and assume, whoa, are you going to end democracy and bring dictatorship? No, because there are other ways to actually fix the system and society. You simply need to have a stronger establishment. And by establishment, I'm talking about the state, not the government. The government are failing. Politicians are failing. The state is the last, is the net safety net. It's supposed to be the safety net. I'm talking about the Crown, the Palace, MI5, GCHQ, all these guys. The people who will actually run the country. Now, I know we live in a globalized world, and they're all basically, the establishments are all globalists as well, because they believe in the worldview that, we all basically have to be out there rather than looking after your country, because they assume if you say look after your country, they assume you're saying close the doors and never talk to anybody outside, never travel abroad for holiday, never trade with anybody. No, that's not what we were saying, but that's what they think we're saying. You can look after your country first, and then of course cooperate with your neighbors as long as they also share your values. But we need to have a conversation about this. David Brooks says, is there anything you can agree with the left at least? Well, it depends on how you define the left, because the modern left, well, they are now the establishment anyway. The left traditional version of it was just anti-establishment. So, and I am anti-establishment. I'm against governments and big governments and all that. But with the current left, perhaps on basic stuff, but it's quite tricky, because you have to define what the left is. If you're talking about the socialists, of course not. If you're talking about the liberal left, I can still justify a small element of a liberal left, but they are naive. They're not the villains. They are the reason we are in this mess, because the liberals basically allowed this society to become weak and feeble and too tolerant and too welcoming, and it's backfiring. There's a number of issues. They will start breeding faster for the next vote. They just do it automatically anyway. They don't even have to have an agenda. It's just an automatic, and it's in nature. Compared to the middle-class Christians who are like, well, can I actually afford the second child? Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to have a baby because it's too expensive. Mike says, 2C for Prime Minister. It's a bad idea, guys. We need to bring back classical liberal values, old English liberal values. William Gladstone. If he were alive now, he would be ashamed. Because back then, classical liberals still believed in nationalism, still believed in patriotism. They believed in smaller government and pro-freedom for individuals in the country. They believed in protecting the structure of the system of society and Christian values. That's what classical liberalism was about in the 18th and 19th century. Look what's happened to it now. The modern liberals are not liberals. Natasha says, this is all terrifying. Is there any small hopeful things that normal people can do? There are obvious ways, obviously, in terms of the word of mouth, in terms of joining grassroots campaigns on different issues, by the way. It's simply about empowering grassroots campaigns, whether it's on, for example, grooming gangs, whether it's on net zero. It's about creating communities, because when you have communities and grassroots movements, then that's how you create a network of people. And of course, joining political parties. People don't join political parties anymore. Back in the 60s and 70s, the Labour Party and the Tory Party each had about 2-3 million members. Now that was a different time, because the parties were different. People could say, I have Labour values, I have Conservative values, done. But now we need people to get back into party politics. So of course, for those on the centre-right, Reform UK. It's not really just about you guys just voting for it. You have to get involved and create communities across the country, each local branches, and that's how you do it in a positive way. And then, of course, we have the external movements with myself, Tommy, Lawrence Fox, Carl Benjamin. We are doing all we can in terms of course, the next rally, which will be in about 3 weeks, end of July, and going forward as well. So there are different avenues to do it. And have a lot of babies, guys. Start having babies right now. It's Friday night. Perfect. Super chat friend says, classical liberalism is the way to go, Maya. And down with the nutters. Yes, the nutters. And go classical liberalism. Anyway, we'll keep you guys posted on all the issues, of course. And don't forget 27th of July. And don't forget, if you want to watch our exclusive and original documentary on 2CTV Plus, Britain's Multiculturalism Myth is now released. Check out the website 2c.tv or find the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.